Let us see what is complex numbers. First set of numbers which we know is what? Natural numbers, which starts with 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 tends to infinity. When we add here 0, then that becomes what? Whole number, which we write as W. Next, these whole numbers, with these whole numbers, when we add negative numbers, minus 1, 2, 3, 4 tends to infinity, that becomes what? Set of integers, which we write Z or I. Now next set of numbers is a rational number. Numbers which we write in the form of P upon Q, where Q is not equal to 0, because if we write upon 0, then we know that that number is not defined. Now here P and Q are what? Integers. Now see here, all natural number belongs to whole number. All these whole numbers belongs to what? Integers. Now all these integers are rational numbers, because like 3 we can write 3 upon 1. 0 we can write 0 upon 1. Minus 2 we can write minus 2 upon 1. So just taking this q1, which is possible here, we can write all integers in this form. And also like other fractional numbers like 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4. So all that becomes what? A rational number. So all these numbers belongs to what? A rational number. Next set is irrational number. Numbers which are not rational. Numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring. For example, pi, which we know 22 by 7. If we divide 22 by 7, try that. You will never get your remainder as 0. So we write 3.14 for calculation. That is our approximate value. Okay, but if we divide 22 by 7, we will not get our answer. That is non-terminating and non-recurring. Now all these numbers, all these belongs to rational, and numbers which are not rational are irrational. So all these numbers, rational and irrational, together we call as real numbers. So till 10 standards we have studied all real numbers. But there is one property of real number. Square of real number is never negative. Either that is positive or 0, but it is always non-negative. So if square is given negative, then what is that number? Obviously that is not a real number. So that is some new number. So let us see what is that number. Now suppose equation is given x square is equal to minus 1. So here square of x is negative. So that means x is not real number. Now if we write here square root, x is root of minus 1, which is not real number. So this is some new number, right? So this root of minus 1 specially we write as I. It is defined as I. I is root of minus 1, that is called iota. Now this I we call as imaginary unit also. Imaginary unit. Okay. So I square is what? I square is square of this, that is minus 1. So this is property of I. But this is case where x square is minus 1. Now suppose second case we write x square as minus 2. Now if this is given as minus 2, minus 3, minus 4 or any negative number, we can write in terms of I. So let us see how we can write. Taking square root, x we can write root of minus 2. Now root of minus 2 we can write root of minus 2 we can write 2 into minus 1. Now root a into b we can write root a into root b. Okay. So this root of minus 1 we know now that is what? I. So this we can write root 2 into I. I is outside root. So if x square is minus 2, that means x is root of minus 2. Then we can write this as root 2 into I. Similarly, if x square is minus 3, we can write x as root of minus 3. So by this same method, we can write now root of minus 3 as root 3 into I. So in general, x square is suppose given minus a. So x is root of minus a. Root of minus a we can write root a into I. Okay, so all these numbers are now I into some real number. So if I into some real number is given, that is called as imaginary number. So what is imaginary number? If number is given in the form of ki, k into this I, where k is real number and I we know it is root of minus 1. For example, 2i minus 3i, half I, pi I. So any real number into I, that is called as imaginary number. So now let us see what is complex number. So if number is given like this, suppose some bi, that is what imaginary number, I into real number. Plus now suppose some a is given, which is real number. Okay, so this number a plus bi is called as complex number. Now what is condition here? This a and b both we want real number and I is root of minus 1. Okay, so number which is given in the form of a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers and I is root of minus 1, is called complex number. For example, 2 plus 3i, or we can write half minus 4i, or 3 by 2 plus 7i, etc. So any real number a we want plus some real number b into I, that is called complex number. Now generally we write z for complex number a plus bi. Okay, we use letter z. So suppose now z is a plus bi.